Hello and welcome to tonight's Get in Tune. I'm Michael Gracia, and I've got another great show lined up. Um, this I got the guest I have tonight. I've been wanting to talk to for a while. He was supposed to come on a while back, but things happened. I had to reschedule. I'm happy he's able to come on tonight because he runs one of the greatest Comic Cons on the East Coast. It is the best in Connecticut, and it is called TERRIFICON. And let me bring on Mitch Hallock. Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing all right. How are you?
Doing good. Thank you for coming on tonight. Before we begin, I just want to have your website go across. You guys, at any time tonight, feel free to go on the website. They tell you all the guests come on. We're going to look at the website, but you can also buy tickets for the show, which I believe is starting this weekend, correct? Or is it next weekend?
What, the show?
The show is next weekend.
It's next weekend, yeah.
Next weekend, that's right. Yeah. I'm sorry. I got the dates wrong in my head. So, yes.
If it was this weekend, I wouldn't be talking to you right now.
No, I understand. Yeah. It's tough. And I just want to let the audience know, and if you hear any weird sounds coming out of me, I pulled something in my side, so laughing sometimes kind of hurts. I have a pillow up against my side here to catch any pain. But anyway, that's not important. What's important is tonight you and talking about TERRIFICON and everything else that is great about the show. So before we get on to TERRIFICON, can you tell me about how you got into comics or the love for pop culture, whatever it is that made you start TERRIFICON?
Well, when I left my family on Krypton and came to the Earth, I had a hankering for the days of old. No, I mean, I think it's pretty generic. Same story. I grew up in the 70s. My dad was in the Marines. He had comic books. My grandmother threw them away. He said, don't ever let anybody throw your comics away. So he gave me a stack. I still have 2 of the books that he got me. And I would go around New Haven, Connecticut, and I would go to newsstands and 7-Elevens and barber shops and all those places where you'd find comics before they had comic book shops. And I would just acquire every comic I could get my hands on. Richie Rich and, of course, Spider-Man and the Fantastic Four and Batman and Superman and all that stuff and Justice League. And then, and then I could draw, and I would sit there and I would draw for hours. I'd just sit there, lay on my stomach with the tongue sticking out. And I would just try to copy the things and create my own comic books. And said, there was a show on, or the New York area where I grew up. You'd see Channel 5, WNEW. I think it's something else now. But they would have a show on Sunday mornings called Wonderama, which was the guy Bob McAllister. He was the host. And they would have, quite often, they would have a lot of the guests from Marvel Comics because I think it was right down the street from the studio in New York City. So Stan Lee would come on there. And I'm pretty sure John Romita came on there too, John Romita Sr. Mm-hmm. And they would come on and they would talk about comics and they would show how they made them and all that. And I was like, wow, this is a job. I want that job. And then Spider-Man came on the Electric Company. So it was like a perfect storm. All these things were happening, live action and Stan Lee and all that. So I would sit there and draw for hours and tell my mom I went to work at Marvel Comics. And she wrote in, and I got this little blue postcard, which I thought was so special. And then years later, I found out it was kind of a form thing that they sent out to a lot of kids. But it was like, hey, true believer, keep your nose on the, to the grindstone and keep your feet on the ground and your eyes on the stars and keep working. And one day you could be here at the House of Ideas. So I was like, all right, look at that. Stan Lee's giving me a job offer, So I took it and I tacked it to my wall. And I remember growing up just staring at that. And I would draw and I would go to school for it. And I went to college for illustration and graphic design in New Haven at the same place with Ron Garney, artist extraordinaire. We were at the same place, same time, along with actor Michael Jai White,
Really?
who was Spawn. Yeah, so for one brief moment, true believers in comic book world, you had the great artist Ron Garney, you had Black Dynamite and Spawn himself, and then me, the TERRIFICON guy, all in the same hallways at the same time, which is kind of funny. I think it is. But anyway, that's about it. No, I just, thousands of comic books later, 50 years later, I'm 55 now, and it's just become a way of life. It's just, I did my upbringing through comic books and met all my friends through comic books. And yeah, I can tell you the book I was reading when I met my wife. I was reading Spectre issue 3.
Wow.
And eating a bag of Funyuns and a bottle of Joke Cola. And she was terrified. And I was like, hey, someday you're going to be the mother of my children. I mean, who knew? That's the power of comic books. Look at that.
Yeah.
And then here we are. And now, and here I am talking to you. So that's about
great.
it. I mean, it's just...
Well, I see just from your background, you're a very big Captain America fan.
Oh, there's lots of stuff here. But yeah, there's a lot of Captain America. There's a lot of Indiana Jones. Anybody who likes beating up Nazis is kind of like one of my favorite things in the world. And Spider-Man mostly when I was a kid growing up. But for some reason it shifted to Cap as I got older. I don't know why. And then for DC it was always Batman, Batman fan. But that's about it for comics. But yeah, there's a lot of junk, my wife would call it, all over this place.
Yeah, my wife uses a different 4-letter word. I don't like to say it.
No. But she has shoes, and I have my stuff. So
exactly.
We have a balance.
Hey, listen, my wife has her own comics. When I met her, she was she was a big Archie fan.
Oh, okay.
And when we started dating, I was collecting. I don't know if it was done to run, and she was just looking through old comics, but she was reading Spider-Girl from me that I collected, which I love.
Friends and those Spider-Girls? Yeah, I like those books. Yeah.
She really got into.
I think Tom DeFalco wrote those.
I believe so.
Yeah.
And the Vertigo line she got into. Why am I blanking on it? The one with the fairy tale characters. And,
Mark, what's his name's book?
What is it?
Fables?
Fables, yes.
Yeah, Fables.
Yeah.
Mark Buckingham. Yeah.
She got into Fables. But yeah, we'd go weekly. We'd both buy comics, and she stopped buying them, and I still bought it, and I still buy.
I can't wait to go tomorrow. That's a highlight of my week. Wednesday.
I'm thinking of heading out tomorrow to myself.
Yeah, Newtown, Connecticut, 11 o'clock, Cave Comics. That's where you'll find me every Wednesday.
Nice. So you grew up loving all the stuff. You went to school for art. Did you try to pursue a career in comics?
I did. I talked to Mike Zeck. Mike Zeck lived around the corner from the comic book shop in New Haven, and my mom would pick up my book sometime when I was in high school, and she would see him. And she would talk to him. She's like, oh, my son can draw, and he's got these dreams of being in the comic book artist world. And Mike's like, okay, I'll give him a call. So one night, Mike Zeck calls me up and talks to me for, God knows, hours, it seems. Wow. And just told me how it all worked and how you got books and how you got an agent and all that stuff. This is like 84. And then I was going off to art school, Pear Art College, which was Frank McLaughlin, who was a great inker for years at the comics. He was one of the teachers there. And Howard Porter went there. Howard Porter of DC fame. Also has the same birthday as me. It's a weird little world around here. I actually got a job as an art director, assistant art director. And the art director got fired because he mouthed off to the boss. And I was 23 years old. I don't know how to do anything, so I'm 23. I just got out of school. So next thing you know, I'm doing the whole book, and I said to the owner, I'm like, I could do really cool stuff. He's like, really? I'm like, yeah, I can make this catalog of boring office products look like a comic book. He's like, oh, yeah, do that. Okay. I had no idea how to do it. I knew what comics are. I knew how they drew them and colored them, but I don't know how to print the damn things, So I picked up the Yellow Pages. That's what we had back then. There's no internet. And I called information, and I called New York City, and I called the House of Ideas, Marvel Comics, and I spoke to someone in the production department and said, please help me. I'm 23 years old. I just got this job, and I told the guy that I knew how to do something which I do not know how to do, and I'm probably going to lose this job once they find me out to be a fraud. So she goes, hold on, let me put you on hold, and I'll get somebody to help you. So next thing I know, I hear, hello, this is John Romita, Sr. And that's my favorite artist. I mean, since I was a kid. John Byrne, and then, but John Romita was the man. Still is.
Yeah.
So I say, hey, Mr. Romita, first off, worship the ground you walk on. I kiss your pencils. You're the best. But you got to help me. And I told him my situation. And I said, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. So he said, all right, get a pencil and paper. Calm down. I'll walk you through it. So Mr. John Romita Sr. for 45 minutes walked me through the entire process about first you draw it, then you ink it, then you color it, then you take it to the separator, then they're going to do this, then they're going to scan it, then we're going to do the separations. Figured all of it out. So I went, I drew the book, and it was a huge hit, and I made millions of dollars, and I kept my job. And then years later, I applied to go work at Marvel Comics. So I go down to the city, and I'm trying to remember. I gave them my portfolio. And that's it. I was sorry, at the marketing department at Marvel Comics. Guy name was Vito Incorvia. There was another guy there, Tommy Lee Edwards, who became an artist too. And I'm there, and I show up in a suit and tie because I grew up Catholic, and you go and you wear a suit and tie, So you go in there, and then everybody's in blue jeans and T-shirts and looking like slobs, because that's what they look like when you grow up all prim and proper. And then they said, what are you, an accountant? Are you here to audit us? I said, no, I'm here for a job. They go, what kind of artist dresses like you? I said, hey, I don't know. So I said, what kind of artist dresses like you? And I said this word that my dad would always say, because he was Italian, and he said chooch, which means like kind of a stupid person. And then the guy running the department stopped everything. He goes, what did you just say? And I go, oh, boy, I'm out of here. He goes, did you say the word chooch? I said, yeah. He goes, what are you, Sicilian? I go, no. I'm not. My father's Italian. Oh, all right. Well, come in. So now I'm in. And then I tell them the Romita story. They're like, oh, Johnny helped you? Yeah. So next thing you know, they offer me a job. So I'm like, oh, my God, dream come true. I'm going to work at Marvel Comics, And I went and told my dad, and my dad was like, don't do it. You'll just be a number there. Where you are now, you're the art director, you're the head guy. But in Marvel, you're just going to be one of hundreds of people, thousands maybe. And I said, oh, come on, Dad, it's New York. But then they offered me the money. And the money was just like half of what I was making in Connecticut. I'm like, oh, my God, I can't live on this. And I turned the guy down, and he kept calling me up. I remember he called me for like 2 weeks straight, telling me to reconsider, And I said, I can't live on that because I'd have to, go from Connecticut to New York City, and you had to pay New York City tax and state taxes and all that. And he's like, well, there's a line of people around the block that would kill to be in the spot you are right now. That would kill to have an offer from Marvel Comics. I said, well, they must got rich parents or a trust fund because I can't live on, $23,000 a year. So anyway, I didn't take the job, even though I regretted it. But I didn't regret it too much because that was the year that the bubble burst. And that fall, Marvel let go of like 500 people. And this was August. So my dad was like, you know what? Last hired, first fired. You would have got that job, and most likely you would have been let go like 3 or 4 months later. So I didn't take that. And then years later, I went to DC Comics. They offered more money. And it was funny because I got a job offer from DC, and I went to a Marvel stockholders meeting because I had stock in the company. And Stan Lee was there. Stan the man himself, right up front. And I talked to him, and he, autographed my stuff. And I said, hey, how come they don't pay as much money as they do over at DC? He goes, hey, I don't know. You got to ask the guy that really runs the show. He's over there. And it was the guy that came in that basically wiped out Marvel, like sold it off. His name was Ron Perlman.
Okay.
He was a big Wall Street guy, big financial guy. And I walk right up to him. I go, hey, Mr. Perlman. He's like, how are you? And I think Joe Quesada was there. Somebody was standing right next to him. And I said, hey, how come you don't pay your staff, your artists, as much as you pay the people? How come, DC pays their people more than Marvel? He's like, I don't think that's true. I said, no, I know it's true because I got offered $41,000 over there, and you only offered me $23,000. So what the hell's that? And he's like, I got to look into this. I find this hard to believe. And, who are you? Why are you coming up to me? And I said, well, that guy over there, and I pointed to Stan. I said, he told me to come and ask you why you're not paying as much as the folks at DC do. And he just looks at Stanley, and Stanley's just like, oh, my God, I can't believe that kid just did that. So I walked away. They probably said, oh, this guy's nuts. So I go up to Stan, and Stan goes, I like you, Mitch. You got moxie. I can't believe you just did that. And I go, hey, I got nothing to lose. And that's it. So to wrap that up, yeah. So I did have an offer from Marvel, I turned down, and then DC. I don't know what happened with DC. It just didn't work out. I talked to a guy named Neil Posner at the time. I think he's since passed away, but he was the guy that interviewed me in 94, 94. It's all a little blurry after like 20 or 30 years, but
Yeah.
it's around there. So. Long story short, yes, to answer your question. So sorry about that, but
No worries.
once you start the Wayback Machine, the Wayback Machine starts wandering around nooks and crannies and finds out stuff.
It's okay. Enjoying the stories. So, okay, so you did that. So you did work kind of in the industry. You told me before this you were doing, or even while you were working on magazines and
catalogs, direct mail, magazines. Yeah.
When did you decide to make the change and say, you know what, I'm going to put a show on it?
Well,
make a show.
Along the way, besides doing the printing, I worked for the marketing department, and the owner of the company, my first job, a guy named Peter Anderson, also since passed away, said to me, anybody could draw. He said, you think you're talented, but I can find 10 other guys that could draw just like you or better. I said, thanks. And he goes, no, I'm going to teach you how to sell stuff. I'm going to teach you the magic behind it. Because if there's a great deal, it doesn't make a difference if it's printed on a brown paper bag with a black marker or if it's printed with gold ink on a glossy stock and all that stuff. It's how you sell it. It's how you do it. So what he had me do was go to trade shows and conventions month after month after month. So on my 24th birthday, I headed for Las Vegas. Then I was in San Francisco, New Orleans, Chicago, New York, one after another. So for like a year, I was at a convention every month. And then I had to put booths together. I had to put our show together, and I had to plan the show and to promote the show that we're going to be at a booth. And then I got to work with the unions and all that stuff. So I learned all the ins and outs of doing trade shows and conventions. And then I started doing that for bigger companies. I started working for internet companies. We had a booth at the Jacob Javits Center that was like 60 by 60. We gave away a 65 Mustang convertible. I had to learn the ins and outs of contests and TV ads and radio ads, and I was making ads that were on the airlines when you go on an airplane and you'd watch these little ads on your headsets and the whole thing. I was making that stuff, and all this stuff comes up. But here's the deal. All along, I was having creative fun doing that stuff. But I'm making money, but I'm also making money for other people. You know what I mean? So if I came up with a good way to sell this pen here, great. I did a nice job and I get a nice little check, but I don't make the money because this thing just sold $1 million. You know what I mean? So I'm just getting a straight check. So after a while, you kind of sit there and go, why do I keep giving all these great ideas and all this energy and all this creativity just so some other rich bastard can make money and just fill his pockets? And I'm not getting any satisfaction out of it. But, you see people wearing your shirt with your designs or your logo, your slogan. You're like, hey, I thought of all that, but I'm just getting my check. So no bitterness here. And then opportunity came up because I knew how to do PR, I knew how to do trade shows, I knew how to do advertising. It's like falling off a log. And somebody said, hey, do you want to help me promote a comic book convention that they were going to put on? I said, I could do that in my sleep. So I did. And I remember I contacted Nightline, ABC's Nightline. I think it's still on. And I was like, oh, there's a big show in Connecticut. You got to be there because everybody's going to want to be there. This is the show. If you go to one show, this is it. Next thing you know, we're at a Holiday Inn in North Haven, Connecticut. It's a Holiday Inn. It's a parking lot. And there comes an ABC truck, with the van and the camera crew. And the guy gets out and he's like, where's this big comic book convention? It's right here. He's like, are you kidding me? I'm like, no, this is it. And they're like, oh, geez, we were told it was going to be that. I'm like, hey, it worked. You got here. So they filmed some bit there with one of the actors who was in The Empire Strikes Back. And, about 900 people showed up and then kept doing that. And then the opportunity came 2 years later for me to take the reins and produce and organize the show on my own dime. So I told my wife, let's take some money out. So I started doing one here. And conveniently, I did it about 5 miles away from my house because I didn't want to drive far. And I did a one-day show. And again, I got nothing to compare it to. But I promoted the hell out of it, just like I normally would. And 3,000 people showed up.
Wow.
3,000 people for a one-day show at a Marriott hotel at a place that's only designed for about maybe 1,000 people for a prom or a wedding,
Yeah.
was crazy, but it was a lot of fun. And then I said, I could do this again. So next year we'll do it better.
Yeah.
5,000 people show up for a one-day show. Plus the fire marshal, the police department, and everybody and their brother, because they're like, hey, you can't do this again. Congratulations on your success, but you're never coming back. I'm like, I live here. This is my hometown. They're like, no. We got people walking on the highway wearing capes. We got people parking all over the place. The grocery store has no parking. I'm like, isn't it great? They're like, no, it's not great. You've disrupted business, buddy. I'm like, come on, man. So anyway, they said, good luck, but don't come back. So then I'm like, got to get a bigger place. So then the following year, got a hockey arena where they had rock concerts, where they had like 8,000 people sitting in for a rock concert. And the owner of that place thought I was nuts because I took money out of the bank. I took out, I think it was $40,000 to rent it for 3 days. Wow. All my money. Like, if this didn't work, I'd be living in a box under a highway somewhere because my wife would be trying to kill me somewhere. I'd be on the run. So I remember we were doing it. I remember the guy said, oh, this is your freak show, your circus. He didn't understand comics. He didn't understand fandom. He just thought it was like a bunch of people wearing costumes. He was putting it down left and right. And he's like, you'll be lucky if you get like 4,000 people. I was like, oh, okay, whatever. The day the show opened, I had the mayor of Bridgeport come in. We had the guy dressed as Batman. He gave Batman the key to the city. I made a big theatrical production out of it. It was like a big rock concert. The line went out the door, down the street, underneath the railroad track. It must have gone for about, I'm not kidding, almost 3/4 of a mile, half a mile. It went on forever. And the owner of the venue just looked at me. His mouth dropped. He was just like, oh, I can't believe there's all these people here. I'm like, yeah, well, I knew it. And there was like 13,500 people there. And I'm like, all right. And then, of course, the first thing they do is, oh, wow. Let's, how much did we charge you? I was like, let's double that. No, don't do that. So so then I had to find a bigger boat like they do in Jaws, and then I found the Mohegan Sun, and then here we are at Mohegan Sun now since 2015, and what is this now? 6 years now, 6 years, and that's it. And there's 20,000 people over there, and it's big, it's gigantic, it's a great venue, and people like it.
Nice.
That's
like I said,
Mitch Hallock. It's a boring story, but it is what it is. Yeah.
No, it's interesting though because everything you went through in your career prepared you.
This. Work. Here's kids. Listen to this. Work for a lot of jerks. Work for a lot of obnoxious people, and then tell them all go to hell, and then do your own thing, and you'll be happy every day of your life. You really will, because I tell people all the time, this is the best job I'll ever have. I will never have a job as great as this job. It's fun. I gripe about it. I piss and moan about it. I get mad at some of the people I deal with, some of the hectic. But at the end of the day, I get to talk about comic books. I get to talk to the people that make the comic books. I get to talk to the people that make the movies based on the comic books. I get to meet people I grew up with, loving as a kid, like dreaming that one day I'll be able to meet the guys from Land of the Lost. And now they're coming to my show. Chaka's coming to my show, and I couldn't trade it for all the money in the world. I wish I had all the money in the world. I'd have a bigger show. I'd get bigger guests, but no, it's a fun job, and that's that.
So let me just, I know I posted them while you were talking, but I just want to say hi to Mike Wilkie in the audience and Tim Jones in the audience. Tim's
hey, Tim. Yeah, Tim's
he's going to be one of your guests.
Yeah.
Tim's a great guy.
Yeah.
He's been on my show a couple of times. I haven't had a chance to meet him in person, so I'm hoping I can come.
He'll be there
at least the one day just to meet him.
Yeah, he's the artist, the comic creator. Yes. Sour Grapes.
Sour Grapes.
Ace of Sales. Yeah.
So. What I want to do is I want to share your website so people can take a look a little bit at what's happening at your show.
Okay.
So let me share the screen here. window, and here we go. So here we are on the main page. I'm going to give this the full screen. They don't need to see us for a few minutes.
No, they've seen enough of my ugly face.
Come on, give it full screen. There we go.
There we go. And there I am again. I can't stop putting myself. Well.
So, well, let's first look at tickets. Let's get.
Oh my goodness! And who drew all the artwork on there? That's that ham himself. It's Mitch Hallock artwork.
This is all your artwork?
Yeah.
Very nice.
I sit there bored and I go, let me try to draw like Jack Kirby. Let me try to draw like Steranko. Let me try to draw like whoever. So yeah, all that. That's not me though. That was Chris Campagna.
And Chris, I'm a big fan of his stuff.
Yeah, he's fantastic. He's also
and I think he has
member. Yes.
I think he has a Kickstarter going on now or something.
He's had several in the past. He probably has another one. Very talented young man. So,
tickets.
There they are.
Excuse me.
$30.
Now, these are great prices for, for even 1 day pass. I mean, you're at Mohegan Sun, so even if you leave the show.
Parking. I always tell people that you don't have to pay to park because I know some places it's like $15 to $20 just for that.
Yeah.
Kids get in free, 7 and under.
And then you got your 3-day package.
Yeah.
And then comic shops they can buy.
Then I got my, there's Cave. That's where I'm at tomorrow.
That's where you go to buy. Where?
Yeah. See, we're TERRIFICON Mitch shops every week.
It's free.
And then I get mad when they're there in the store and they recognize me. No, you tell people where you're going to be. I'm like, I know.
Let's go to the movie TV. We'll just go in order here. Just the movie TV animation. So let's see. Who do we got here? Michael Rooker.
Going to be Suicide Squad.
Coming up.
Mr. Gunn. He's been here 3 times already. He's one of our favorites, Sean is.
Yeah, I've never had the chance to meet him, but
he's
hear
great.
great things about
Sean's
him.
great. He loves to gamble too. He likes playing poker. He used to be part of our poker tournament. We used to do that every year. And that's my wife's present right there, Scott Patterson.
Patterson.
She's like a Gilmore Girl fan, and she's like, "Why don't you ever get him? You get Sean Gunn." I'm like, "Whatever. He has no comic book cred." And then I had to go through his IMDb, and I'm like, "Oh, wait a minute. He was a voice in Batman, and he was on Alien Age. Okay, he can come."
Yeah.
Because I'm not a Gilmore.
Yeah, but Gilmore Girls is a guilty pleasure for a lot of people, and
I've heard.
Yeah.
I've heard. And then this is Mr. Ross Marquand, who's from The Walking Dead, but he's also in The Avengers, Endgame, and Infinity War. So he will be there.
And then
Highlander.
Yep. I got to say, for me, this is the guest I'd love to meet. I was a huge Highlander fan. I mean, I was a fan before the show.
With the movie.
The movie. Because it came out when I was 10 years old, but I didn't see it till like early high school. 86.
Okay. Yeah.
And I saw it like 91, 92. So I was either a freshman or sophomore in high school. And it was the first time I saw Immortals that weren't like monsters of some sort or whatever. It was just
it was a very clever movie. Yeah. I remember seeing it in the theater.
So when the TV show came out, I became a fan of it. I actually have a copy of the sword he's holding.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, it's in my closet. I can't get to it right now, but if I could, I'd show it to you.
Bring it. He'll sign it, I think.
Well, if I came, am I allowed to bring a sword?
Is it a real sword like metal?
Yeah, no, it's actual. Oh, it's an actual duplicate.
You'll have to check with the Mohegan police.
Yeah, it's not sharp, but it's metal. It's
probably do some damage. I don't know.
That's the thing. I got that sword. I got Connor's sword, and I got the McLeod Claymore. I was a huge fan.
I guess so. Yeah.
Yeah, huge fan. This guy, I don't know Power Rangers too well.
I don't know Power Rangers either, sir. I have to admit that. But he's a big anime voice star. My friend Stasia, who's a huge anime person and Funko collector, she told me all about him. Because I call her, I go, Stasia, I got this guy. Is he all right? She's like, oh my God, he's in all of them, JoJo and Hero Academy. And I'm like, okay, that's a good thing, right? So you could thank Stasia.
You see anime. Oh, and there
we go.
Coming 2 people another 2 I'd love to meet. I loved the show as a kid.
Yeah, they're there. Yeah. They're there. Wesley Ure, Kathy Coleman, and where's the man? That's right.
Here comes
Phil Paley. That's right. Shaka himself is there. He does not look like that. I keep telling people his makeup. Leave the guy alone, will you?
That was one of my favorite childhood shows.
And then series creator and creator of Tribbles, Mr. David Gerald, is coming to the show. Yeah.
I didn't know he created the Tribbles.
He
That's
did.
Awesome.
That's how I knew him. I didn't even know he did Land of Lost until I found out afterwards. Like, oh, really?
Wow.
You're the Tribble guy, you know?
Awesome.
So, and then we got some wrestlers, which I don't usually do, and I get asked that constantly. Can you please get some wrestlers? So I said to my friend Jamie, who should I get? And Jamie gave me a rundown of some people, and my friend Roger too.
Okay.
So,
yeah, I don't know wrestling well.
Like I said, I'm with you, buddy. I don't know
Yeah.
either, but they're the big deal. They're the cat's pajamas.
Uh-huh.
And now I remember this young lady as Sissy. I did not know she was Firestar. She was Sissy on Family Affair to me.
Yeah,
she's the voice of Firestar. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say I met her years ago at another show. Yeah, I got a Firestar autograph because I was a big Spider-Man Amazing Friends.
Oh, wow. No, I met her at New York not New York Comic, one of those Mark Carbo Big Apple cons.
That's, I think, where I met her.
Yeah, she was sitting there with my friend Larry Kenny and I think Larry Storch, and they were all three of them together. And I was like, oh wow. It's weird. It's a small world. Yeah. Everybody comes around again. So.
Yeah, she was a really, really nice.
Very nice lady. Yeah, she'll be here next week. Speaking of very nice, there's Miss Susan Eisenberg, who is Wonder Woman to all the kids out there, but also a lot of voiceover in video games. Shakti in the Star Wars game. And my sons grew up with Maria here. She was on Wizards of Waverly Place. They used to always watch that. It was on Disney.
No, I know.
She's Hawkgirl.
Yeah, I know her from Hawkgirl. I know her from Danny Phantom. But I watched the little Wizards with like my nephews.
It was a big thing when my kids were little. Selena Gomez was on it. One of the Dom DeLuise's kid was on it. Peter.
Yeah.
And then Mr. George Newbern, who my wife knew from the show Scandal. And I'm like, that's Superman. She's like, what? I'm like, that's Superman.
I'm the same way of how I recognize.
Yeah. And there's my man. There's Larry. Another Connecticut guy. Yeah.
Yeah, he's great. I interviewed him years ago for another thing I was doing, and just really, I don't know how else to say. Really nice. Was very.
Yeah. See, I grew up listening to him on the Don Imus show, Imus in the Morning, and he would do all the voices. He would be Elvis, and he would be. I think he did Nixon too, but he was just the man of 1,000 voices,
And that's what it was. When I interviewed him, he wasn't feeling well. I said, don't worry, I won't ask you to do any voices. He did voices the entire time.
Yeah. Can't stop him. Can't stop the mighty Larry.
Yeah.
Here's another one that I remember my sisters watching, General Hospital back in the 80s. And Mr. Tristan Rogers was Scorpio. He was the big deal. But he was also, again, he's got cred. He's in Rescuers Down Under. He's on Babylon 5. He was on Wild Thornberries. He's done voiceover. So the nerd cred is there. You just have to look for it.
Coming up, another General Hospital guy.
Yeah, but also Karate Kid 3.
Yep.
Yeah, Karate Kid's huge now with Cobra Kai and all that.
I believe he's coming in this season.
He will have to get him next week and torture him to figure out if reveal the big deal.
I'm one of those people obsessed with the show.
I love Cobra Kai. It was a great show. Oh my God, it's one of the funniest things they've ever made. I mean, I watch that and laugh my ass off when I see Johnny.
Now Lauren Lester, this guy's really good.
Yeah, big voiceover actor.
Yeah, it's funny when I forgot what show I did.
Yeah,
but I did a show, and I went in to have lunch in the green room. And he was at the table. John Wesley Shipp was at the table.
Oh, John's the greatest.
Yeah, Dean Cain. And I forget who else, someone else. It's like I had lunch with like Superman, the Flash, and Robin, It was,
Yeah.
Here comes Diane. I met her at a show. Another sweetheart of a woman. She told me stories how she wrote episodes, I think it was of The Love Boat.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, I believe it was The Love Boat. We just sat down talking one day and at a show, and she was just so that we talked about writing more than anything.
Right.
Really sweetheart of a woman there.
Costanzo. Yeah, Bob Costanzo. He's been in everything. He's one of those guys you're like, geez Louise, I saw you in Saturday Night Fever. I saw you in Dog Day Afternoon. I saw you in Die Hard 2. and he just keeps going. But he's the Harvey Bullock to all the Batman kids.
Yeah, that's great. And some video game here.
Yeah, gotta get that to make my kids happy.
Popular game though.
Red Dead Redemption huge. Too. A lot of kids, a lot of adults play that thing all day long.
Oh yeah.
My God, Red Dead Redemption. This one's a late edition. He just called the other day. He's like, "Hey, I'm in the area." I'm like, "All right, I can get you another Power Ranger."
Yeah. Nice. And then you have.
And you gotta have the. I wasn't gonna do the cars this year because I was being very skeptical about stuff like that, but I got letters from people like, "Why aren't there any cars this year?" I'm like, "Oh my goodness gracious!" They're not real. They don't really go in time or go down a Batcave, but people wanted to see it. So. Hence, they're there. And,
they're nice looking.
They're nice. It's fun. Kids get to see Herbie the Love Bug, and and then even a motorcycle showing up this year. I got something for everybody.
How many kids know Herbie though these days?
I do.
I do too. Hey, I loved the movie as a kid.
No, there was a movie they did with they made one my son saw, the kid from Fairfield, Justin Long, and she was really popular. She got in a lot of problems. Lisa Lohan.
Oh, Lindsay Lohan.
Lindsay Lohan. That's yeah. She was.
I never saw that one, but
my kids used to watch that one.
I remember you telling. I remember seeing commercials.
Yeah. And then there's the TARDIS, which is in my garage, which I have to put together next week. So there you go.
Oh, very nice. Yeah.
Let's see, when things got real bad last year with everything, I was like, I could just put the TARDIS together and jump in it and go back and fix everything. But it didn't work.
Actually, I will get to that about, after we talk about this, I do want to talk about how the pandemic not affected, but how it's going to affect the show this year, rules and stuff. But let's look at the artists first.
All right.
Let's scroll to comic creators.
Mm-hmm.
So coming up,
Johnny Cates writes everything. And there's Mr. Tim Sale.
Tim Sale, I am a huge fan.
Long Halloween, Batman. Dark Victory. They're all right there. Yeah. See, when I do these graphics, it's easy for me because I read all these guys' books and stuff. So I just go, oh, let me go grab the cover of this and that and this and that, and I throw them together. Sometimes it's hard just to pick 4 or 5 or 6. So I used to just do 4. This year I did 6. Some of them you'll see there's some 7. I just can't stop. I'm like, this guy's got a lot of great books I want to put up there.
Dan Jurgens here.
And there's a subtle trend that some people catch it and some people don't. I'll see if you can catch it.
I'm just looking real quick.
No. There's a subtle little thing. There's a Captain America book in his. There's a Captain America in Jurgens. There's a Captain America in Ron. You're going to see
I was
there. Because
that's what I was doing.
Cap's 80th anniversary. So
is it this? I didn't realize that.
But 1941.
Well, the reason I was looking up was because I noticed the Cap in the 2. I'm like, oh, there it is. Let me see if they have any up there. I don't remember.
No. Donnie didn't do any Cap.
Yeah.
Shame on Donnie. He should have. But you're going to see Captain America popping up in almost every one of these graphics because they did something. Except a man is mostly DC.
Yeah.
Another Connecticut person. Mr. Palmiotti. Yeah. He was the inker. Yes, and he was the inker. And he actually wrote and drew a Captain Punisher graphic novel.
Yeah.
He's also from Bridgeport, Connecticut.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. He was at the show I did in Bridgeport. I interviewed him because, Captain America again.
Yeah.
And Mr. Lee Weeks. Yeah, because Mike Zapsik from the Comic Book Man was supposed to do the panel, and he couldn't make it, so I had to pinch hit and run the panel.
Okay.
Yes. There's Mrs. Cates, newly married to Donnie.
Okay.
Megan Hutchinson.
I didn't know that.
They just went on their honeymoon about a month ago. Yeah. Sean Murphy. Yeah, called up. He's coming in one day only. Saturday from 1 to 3. Yeah. Mr. Starlin's back. Yep.
Worked on tons of amazing things.
Oh, for goodness. Yeah. That's his newest Dread Star book. I got to get mine autographed. He just came back to that character.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dave, there he is, Reverend Dave.
Another Captain America.
Yeah. But Superman Red Sun, that's his big book.
Yeah.
Great book. Yeah. They made a animated movie out of that, too.
Yeah, it was pretty good. I saw that.
Here's my mom's favorite, John Cassaday. She thought he was a movie star. He walked by in I think it was 2019 or 2018. Maybe it was 2019. Seems like forever. But John came by. He was headed to his table, and he stopped by to talk. My mom's 83 now, and she's like, "Oh my goodness, what TV show is that handsome young man on?" I go, "Who?" She's like, "That fella." I said, "He's not on TV, Mom. That's one of them there artists. That's John Cazaday." And she's like, "Well, he should be on TV. Look at him. Looks like a young Robert Redford." So I told that to John. I go, "My mom loves you." And he goes, "Joan, really? She's my #1 fan." I go, "That's right." So whenever I see John, my mom's happy. She's like, "How's that young man?" Pep Broderick. Did some of my favorite books when I was a kid, Micronauts. Yes.
I think I'm looking at this and I'm like, I don't know. I think I've had some of these issues. And
Firestorm and all that.
Oh, I had the Firestorm. I know. I had the Green Lantern.
Yep.
I had the Micronauts.
Yep. Ragman's a great miniseries.
I think I might have had that.
Yeah.
Like, I sometimes forget artists and writers' names, but if you show me their work, it pops in my head. Like,
I used to be so good at it growing up. Of course, the brain's gone now, but used to be able to pick up any book I had and show me the cover. I could tell you the story and who did it. But
I was the same.
Now it's kind of faded a bit.
Yeah. I used to, when I was a kid and I was learning how to draw.
Yeah.
And I would copy out of comics sometimes.
Yep.
When I couldn't think of something, I knew within 3 comics of which, like, it'd be like, oh, want this pose. It was done in like Hawkman issue 12. Or was it 13? And I'd pull up both and I'd find it in one of those 2 issues.
You know what's weird? I wasn't good at history growing up. And then I did, because I suddenly realized if I just read the book, that's a big deal. Read the history book. But it was like a photographic memory type of thing. I could start to close my eyes during a test and see the book in my head, like the page layout and where the photo was and how the paragraphs were and the column breaks. And then I would just regurgitate whatever my head saw. But I got that all from comic books, honestly, because I would do the same thing. I would read the panel to panel, and I'd remember the stories, and I would go, wait a minute, that was Fantastic Four 78, page 12. You see Dr. Doom do this and that. So, hey, kids, comics.
Yeah. I want to share a funny story since you brought up history, reading the history book.
Yeah.
I was never the best student because I always drew.
Right.
And I at one point I started just drawing my notes. That my teacher loved what I drew, so at the end of class he would take my drawings and post them around the room. Because he didn't think I was really paying attention. Yeah. But here's something. Oh, the guillotine. So I draw the guillotine. But I'm like writing dates or whatever and stuff, and I'm doing all these little drawings of these things. Yeah. So I had nothing to ever study with in this history class. Yeah. And he thought I didn't either, but I'd ace all the tests because all my notes were around the class.
Oh, there you go. You just looked at the pictures.
I just looked at the pictures I did, and I remembered everything. And then my friend, got mad at me. He called me out on the stuff, and because I was doing better in the class. And
we all have friends like that.
My pictures came down on test days.
Oh. He ratted you out.
Exactly.
I remember doing a report on the Cuban Missile Crisis, and I can tell you now, it was like a comic book cover. The cover of that report, because I had Khrushchev in one corner and Kennedy in the other corner, and missiles coming up from both sides, headed straight on for each other like nukes. And then in the middle was Cuba. It looked like a comic book cover. And then across the thing, I did the bubble letters with the perspective. The Cuban Missile Crisis, America, countdown to doomsday. I mean, I would read that report because I looked at it. I was like, damn, man, when's that movie coming out? I remember the teacher was like, wow, this is something else. I'm like, yes, true believer. If you read one book report this year, this is the one to read.
I can picture you saying that to your teacher.
I would. I actually did a lot of Stanley impressions when I was a kid all the time. Mighty Mitch and Amazing Al present DNA, the building blocks of life.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No, I do. I still do that.
No, I'm the same way.
Stanley mode.
So up next we got Howard Mackey.
Good
stuff there. Now,
Giella, 92
let me tell you something.
Years old, 93, something like that.
What? If I come for one artist
You better get Joe.
it would be Joe.
Yes, sir.
Number one, I've always been more of a DC fan over Marvel, although I love both.
I squeezed a Cap in there.
I saw.
Yeah.
But his work, he's basically the Joe Sinnott of DC.
Yes, he is.
He inked all the great stuff.
Yeah. Green Lantern. God. Yeah. Yes.
Oh, wow. Saturday only. And that's the day I plan to come if I can come.
He's always there just Saturday only.
Yeah.
He comes up all the time. And his lines go crazy. There's my friend, Mr. Keith Williams.
This guy, and I say this every time he comes up on my show.
Nice
and he's been on my show, too. That's what I say. I've never seen him not smile at a show.
Well, I'll go out of my way this time to change that. I'll go.
He really is like the nicest guy.
No, he is. You'd have to work hard not to get Keith to be Keith to be upset with you. And notice he's got the U.S. agent. That's his cap.
Yes. And I have that issue.
Oh, and there's the guy who I just was eating pizza and drinking beer with a couple hours ago.
And
podcasting partner himself.
Yes, we're going to
Jeremiah Ordway.
And we're going to talk about your podcast too. I got to say though, Jerry Ordway might be one of my favorite modern artists. Like
he is, and he did the original Captain Terrificon in 2015. That it's actually on the website in the background. You can see it peeking out a little bit. But yes, Jerry drew the very first Captain Terrificon.
Wow.
Dun, dun, dun. Plus, he does a lot of other stuff. And I own that Captain America cover right behind Jerry, right there.
Oh, really?
Yeah. That's when they did. Him and Roy Thomas did a Invaders prequel a couple years ago, and Jerry gave me that for a birthday present.
I'm gonna have to go through my collection, but I think I have every one of those books behind him.
I think I do too. I definitely have the Batman one.
I know.
Kevin Smith. Yeah, that's Batman '89. Yeah, I do too. Now that I think about the Seven Soldiers of Victory on the All Star. All Star is a great series. Yeah, it's a great comic series.
Oh, I loved it. I collected his entire Power Shazam run.
Yeah.
It was funny. I met him at a show.
Mm-hmm.
It was in Connecticut. God, I don't know how many years ago it was. I want to say 2000.
He's been in every one I've done since day one.
Well, it was
up in Hartford, maybe.
It was a small hotel show.
Okay.
And I walked in, and I saw him there, and he had nobody at his table yet. It was like just the beginning of the show.
Yeah.
And I went up and I asked him. I said, God, what would I said hello. I'm a big fan of your work. Yeah. And I said, how much are you charging for autographs? He goes, are people charging here? I go,
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. No.
I don't know. And he's like,
we still talk about that. Yeah, Jerry was always giving out free autographs.
Yeah.
Free drawings too for a long time.
And let me say, I told him how much of a fan I was of the Power of Shazam.
Yes. Sir.
I bought a copy from him there. Yeah. He opened up the plastic, and he drew a Captain Marvel in there for me.
There you go.
And autograph, and I was like, and it was like nothing. It was just payment of the book.
That's Jerry Ordway.
Yeah,
that's the nicest guy in comics.
Yeah. I got to try to get him on the show one day. I got to reach out to him. He's such a good. I love
Just
to talk
buy him
to
a beer and pizza. He'll show up wherever you want.
That's good to know.
Boy, fam.
Yeah, I'm not too familiar with his work.
He did a lot of. I did the Hercules series that came out. I just picked one of those up a couple years ago. He's going to be teaching a class actually on Sunday morning. Well, you won't be there, but Sunday morning, kids, he'll teach you how to draw with integrity. I think that's the title of the panel.
Nice.
Oh, there's the other guy I can't get rid of, Mr. Paul Cooperberg. That's him. He's another Connecticut fellow. We just went to the diner about a month ago, and Paul's always fun. Yeah. He's happy because the Peacemaker is going to be in the new Suicide Squad and a TV series. So,
they're doing a TV series with him?
Yeah, HBO.
I didn't know that.
No, Paul wrote that, and he's having a resurgence, that guy. He's got the Doom Patrol. He's got the Peacemaker. And not many people know this, but Paul wrote the original He-Man comic book for DC. So a lot of the He-Man mythos was created out of the mind of Paul.
You said for DC comics, not the ones not the mini comics that came.
No, Paul wrote those. The ones
he wrote the mini comics as well
with the toys. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got to go through that. I got the book.
Yeah, no, that's him, because we talk about that. Those are quite pricey, because I asked him if anyone brings them to get autographed. He said, no, a lot of kids just like ruined them, and, threw them out with the toys.
Well, I have originals.
Do you now?
I have originals on one of my bookshelves here.
Uh-huh.
And I have the collection. What was it, Dark Horse put out of all the?
I don't know.
The mini comics.
Did they?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, look at that. I didn't know they did a reprint.
Yeah, they put all of them from the original all the way up to the 2000 series. All the mini comics that came with that. So that's cool. Alex, I love this guy's work.
Michael, another Connecticut fellow.
Bucky O'Hare, I love that stuff.
Michael, this guy, another Connecticut guy, yeah.
Guy Gilchrist.
Guy of all.
Yep. And another person I'm a fan of his work of.
Oh, Muppet Babies.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe the long lines he had. I mean, we see rough and tough cops standing in line getting a little Kermit baby. I was like, good God. Look at this. Look at these people. They're eating this stuff up.
Well, it was a great show when you were, 10, 11 years old.
For you, I was 20-something at that time. I wasn't watching Muppet Babies. But I hear it's great.
It was a cute show, especially if you're a Muppet fan.
Yeah, it's Renee Winterstadter. I snuck a cap in there. She was a big editor for Marvel for a long time.
Yeah.
Worked with John Byrne. Did a lot of appearances in his stuff. And there's my man Franco coming up.
Franco, we both studied under the same guy, but at different times.
Okay.
And Franco studied under him first. The guy's name was Tom Gill. Tom worked on a lot of like the Lone Ranger stuff and a lot of westerns and things. And Franco basically went to his house and learned. I learned through a class, but got extra, because I was the only one who was like super serious about comics. He did a lot more with me and helped me out with things. But at the time, when I had hair and I had my goatee, and we both very broad shoulder, he used to get me and Franco. He used to call me Franco all the time.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
There you go. Well, he will be there once again. Yeah. Mark Morales. Been there many times at my show. Inker extraordinaire. Yeah. Mike McCone. Another wild man. He's coming down. He's
got his Captain America there.
He does. He does.
Who do we got coming up here? Oh, Scott Hanna. I knew his face. Him and his wife, such great people.
Yes. Yeah. I can't believe I didn't put a cap up there for him. I don't think he's done cap.
I don't know.
Probably. He's done everything. I can't believe I missed that one. Yeah. There's the man of the hour. You can't have Jim Starlin without Al Milgrom popping up. He was there last time, 2019. And I just bought that Firestorm. I got to get him to sign it.
Oh, this one right here?
That's the first Firestorm, yeah.
Wow.
Frank Thierry, troublemaker.
I'm not familiar with his work, but I'm loving what I see.
Oh, no, he's done a lot for Marvel recently. Yeah. A lot of Raven.
Well, I got to say, in the last, I don't know, since, I don't know how many years now, 7 years, I don't read a lot of mainstream anymore, so I follow more indie stuff.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll pick something up that looks interesting to me.
Mr. Tomasi.
Yeah.
Dude, long run on Batman. Yeah.
I'm looking at the covers to see if I recognize anything.
No, he's a more recent DC fellow.
Yeah.
Last couple of years. He's been around. Oh, this one, now this guy goes back. This is Mr. Chichester, Dan Chichester. He was doing stuff in the 90s. Mm-hmm. So, a lot of horror stuff. He did a great run with Daredevil with Lee Weeks, actually.
This one right here. Oh.
Yeah. And there's
I had that book. I know. I got rid of some books. Daredevil was some of the books I got.
I snuck in a cap there too.
Where's the cap?
Right there on the Shield cover.
Oh, the Shield down there. Yeah, next to his Shield.
Yeah.
Graham Nolan.
Co-creator of Bane. Everybody knows Bane. Big Batman artist too. Mr. Prep Reading worked on Superman for many years.
Yeah.
For the Mighty Thor, worked on Avengers and the Thundercats book, which is actually a really hot book right now.
Really? I know I have that somewhere.
Do you really? That stuff goes for hundreds of dollars right now.
Really?
Yes. Because they're making a movie. I'm like, oh my God, really? That book? It was like a dollar bin book for years, and now it's like $300.
I think I have the first, like, was it 3 or 5 issues they did of
Well, find
Thunder?
it. Flip it, man. Sell it.
Well, I might have to get him to sign it first.
Who's that? Justin Gray.
Gray.
Worked with Mr. Palmiotti on many books. Jonah Hex. Bunch of good ones there.
Yeah.
There's Randy. Randy Emberlin's coming in. Did a big run on the Carnage with Mark Bagley.
Yeah.
When that was Venom and that storyline. Big pricey book right now too. And there's a Cap in there too.
Was there?
Yeah, right in the middle there, MODOK.
Oh, I see him. Yeah.
It's like, where's Waldo? Like, where's Cap?
I just want to say hi to Emilio Velez Jr., who just popped
Oh yeah,
in.
Emilio's great. He's been in my shows many years with his dodgeball teams.
Yep.
Mr. Tucci, who's drawing me a Rocketeer finally.
Oh, that's awesome.
Lawson's Promise.
I love his work.
Yeah, the Tooch. Sean Crystal's going to be teaching a class on Saturday night with Lee Weeks, Klaus Janson, Palmiotti.
Wow.
A bunch of, it'll be like creating comics. All-star cast.
Is this like a free thing?
Yeah, they're all free.
All free?
Cool. Well, based on how many seats you can get there.
Yeah.
It's like 250 seats, so come one, come all.
Rodney Ramos.
Yeah.
This guy makes me laugh all the time.
Rodney, yeah?
Yeah.
Gordos. Yes, Tony's done a lot for DC in the last couple of years. Miss Jameson working with Mr. Starlin. Yeah, she's inking Jim's new stuff.
Okay, I'm not familiar with her.
No, she's new. Steve Montano, oldie from the 90s there, worked on a lot of classic books, especially the Guardians of the Galaxy. So,
yeah.
Yep.
That's when I read Guardians.
Another Connecticut guy he was. And there's Chris. Yeah.
Yeah, he is his
I think one of his Kickstarters up. Yeah, First World maybe? Is that the one you were talking about?
I don't remember. It's a fantasy.
Yeah.
It's about I watched it either yesterday or today. It's about Chosen.
Oh, I think I have that up there.
Do you have Chosen?
No, I don't know. I like I say, I try to get as many as I can find.
First World. I can't read some of these. The Adventures of. I don't know. I can't see.
I'm sure he'll have that at his table. When
So.
Here's one of my faves, Joe Caroni.
Mm-hmm.
Joe's done some amazing art for Lucasfilm and stuff over the years. So yeah, he's
gorgeous.
Fantastic. Absolutely. He's got a huge booth too, big display. Another Connecticut guy, teaches up at the University of Hartford.
Oh, does he?
Yes, he does. Did a lot for Marvel in the 70s with the magazines and Avengers and Solomon Kane. But his real big claim to fame is The Hobbit. He's adapted the Tolkien books. Yeah,
I got that. I actually, how many do I got? 1, 2, I think it's 3. 3 prints of his that are from The Hobbit. Plus, I have the book.
Okay.
Yeah, love this stuff.
Yeah, Dave's great.
I just want to also say hi to Joe Ryan in the audience. He's a I don't know if you know him.
Joe.
Young comic creator.
Oh, okay. No, I'm thinking of Dave Ryan in Jersey.
Oh yeah, no, Joe is in. He's in New York.
All right. There's Miss Friedlander, who's DC Comics' first female editor, and she did all their their version of Archie.
Yeah.
She created all that. Scooter and Debbie and all that stuff. She was the person behind all their romance books back in the day. So she's got some stories. There's Mr. Tim Jones coming up next.
Yep. Yeah. Tim Jones.
Cartoonist.
Yeah. Listen, that dude makes me laugh all the time.
Oh, yeah. And there's Mr. Ryan Brown. He's been around for a long time at my shows, and he's doing more and more mainstream stuff with the Turtles. The last run of variants over there.
Yeah, I see the new He-Man Revelation.
Yep. That just came out. Kevin Smith's writing that.
Yeah, it premieres. Actually, the show premieres this
Friday. Weekend. Yeah, the 25th, right?
Yep. Yeah, 25th or 23rd? I don't know.
Something like that. But all the episodes drop this week. Yeah.
Oh, it's all of them?
I believe they're putting them all on at once. That's how Netflix
I hope so.
does it.
I want to watch them.
Yeah. And then the Hero Initiative, a very great organization that helps out older comic creators. They're coming out this year, and they're bringing a bunch of folks with them. So they brought Jim Calafiore, and Mr. Tom Rainey, who's always there at the shows. There's a Cap back there too. And Matthew Clark, who's mostly a DC fella, but a lot of the Vertigo stuff. But they'll be part of that. Matt Michaels worked a lot with Jim Lee. He's there too, but he's at one of those two. Now this young fella here, because I did say it's a Cap anniversary. Yes. This is Mr. Joe Simon's grandson, Jesse. Wow. And Joe Simon co-created Captain America with, of course, Jack Kirby back in 1941. But they also did some other books like The Newsboy Legion, I think it was, and and Fighting America and The Fly. So he's going to be on here. We're going to do a special panel on Saturday where Jesse's going to talk about his granddad and how Captain America came to be and some of the history behind that. It's kind of cool. He's like the relative of a living legend, Mr. Joe Simon.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And CB, the editor-in-chief of Marvel Comics. Where is he going to be? Oh, he's going to be at TERRIFICON. Another Connecticut guy, Easton, Connecticut. Oh, Connecticut is like the place to be.
I just was talking to Bob Weber Jr. last week.
Yeah.
He was in Connecticut for a while. Lives out on the West Coast now. But his father, Bob Weber, he was in. They lived in Connecticut for a long time doing comics. And,
there you go.
Yeah, they're strip artists. So Bob Weber did Moose and Molly, and I don't know if you remember that one.
Yeah, not really.
And his son, who I interviewed, Bob Weber Jr., he does the Shylock Fox, the kids stuff, and very very fun interview. Great stuff here. Rachel Ordway.
Yes, Jerry's daughter. Also lives in Connecticut.
I'm looking at her work back here. It's very nice.
Yeah. She's got nice style. Legendary inker Joe Rubinstein. Cap. Did that great run with Captain America with John Byrne back in the day.
Now, Larry coming on.
Yeah.
Larry showing. I love watching this guy at shows.
Yeah?
He cracks me up because he just sits back. He has a few things that he inked. He just gotta, at least the shows I've seen him at, he just kind of sits back and just has a good time.
Yeah,
he just enjoys. Good. He enjoys people.
He will be there.
Yeah.
And this young man here is Shannon Mayer. My goodness, I put him up a week ago. People went crazy. I guess he's doing a lot of variant covers, beautiful paintings and stuff. But man, board lit up. Everyone was like, "Oh my God, Shannon Mayer's coming! Shannon Mayer's coming!" I'm like, "Okay, calm down, folks." Wow. But he'll be there signing all 3 days.
That's fantastic.
And there's my buddy Jason May. He does a lot of work for Lego. And I actually have a graphic tomorrow. He made Captain Terrificon as if he were a Lego person.
So that's fantastic.
Yeah, Jay May's been a lot. He works a lot with Franco. When we did the Kids Con, he was always over there. Him and his buddy, who's coming up next, I believe it's Gugliotti. Nope, it's not. I'm sorry, it's Richard. He's done a lot of Looney Tunes. If you ever read the Looney Tunes series from DC, Richard was drawing all those.
Yeah, like even the more recent stuff, or was I
think there's not one Looney Tune books that I've picked up that doesn't have work by Richard in it.
I gotta look at it. I gotta look that up.
Yeah. He's that guy. He's the cartoony guy.
Yeah. No, I've met him. I've met him before in the past. I just didn't know he was still doing it.
Yeah.
That's the kind of stuff I look at a lot.
Okay.
I'm very I do both, but I'm very cartoony with my go-to work.
And Paul Mounts is like the genius colorist behind like every freaking book out there nowadays, like the Immortal Hulk and Harley Quinn and stuff. I mean, he's got like the way he colors these folks' stuff. It's like I don't know. It's a whole another level.
Yeah, I've never met him, but I've heard.
You
about
can tell, like you see a book, you're like, oh, that's Paul. Yeah. And this fella here, he's been around the circuit a lot in New England. Mr. Rich Henneman. He's a big variant stuff. Does a lot of sketch cards and all that stuff. But Rich is nice. Did a nice Captain America for my personal collection at home. Even drew a picture of a shoe for my wife. Because I said my wife collects shoes, not artwork, so he drew her a shoe.
Who do you got coming?
That's Chris? Mr. Gugliotti, yeah. He's a local fella. Does some variant covers, too. He's a wise guy. Yeah. Jeff Schultz, another cartoon. Jeff. Big Archie artist.
Big Archie. Yeah, he did a lot of great stuff. I've chatted with him many times.
He's done some comic strip stuff, too.
Yeah.
Good
stuff.
And Jim Turner's this fella here. Now, if you ever want to interview somebody who's got a weird life, not weird like strange, but He's done it all. Jim's been like a stunt man, a stunt driver. He hung
Really?
out with Paul Newman. Oh my God, he knew all of them. And then he got into comics and hung out with Joe Sinnott for years and worked
Mhm.
with Joe's family for a long time. And he's just a staple around here. It's
I
like,
was gonna,
there's Jimmy Turnus.
I
Everybody
was
knows
gonna say,
Jimmy.
because I think I don't know if I'm connected with him on Facebook, but
Yeah.
I'm connected on the Jetta Ray
Well, yeah,
Adventures,
Jetta Ray, that's his book. Yeah.
and I've been one, and I know Mark,
Yeah.
Joe's son, has worked
Yeah.
on it a little bit. I want to get them on the show and talk to them
Now
about that
he's
stuff.
oh, for goodness sakes, I was just going to be something about Turnus. Well, I can't. It'll come back to me. But Jimmy worked with a lot with the Inkwell Awards. The
Yeah.
Inker stuff. That Jimmy
Yeah.
was like one of the ground level founding members of all that stuff
Wow.
for years. Yeah, so everybody knows Jim. Like Liefeld knows him. He's just one of those guys. Like everybody knows Jimmy. So, yeah, good guy.
Fantastic.
Yeah, and then Mr. Wheaton here. He's done tons of stuff for Bongo. You
Yeah.
remember the Simpsons line of
Simpsons,
yeah, Futurama.
Yeah.
he-
I collected a lot of that.
Oh yeah, so did I. My son loved it. That was like his
Yeah.
book. His go-to book was the Simpsons line.
Yeah, I loved it.
Yeah.
And here you got Keith coming up.
Yeah, Mr. Plastic City Comic Con, my buddy Keith Gleason with the Mighty Mascots. Which
we've been on show. Oh yeah, we've been on shows together.
Yeah.
Because we've worked on stuff not where we've been in the same book. We did together some stuff for Parody Press together, the X-Force Reloaded. But I didn't work on his story. I'm just saying I've never met him in person, so he's someone I'd love to meet. Like go just to meet. Brian, who's that?
The Fram brother.
Frame.
Frame. That's Fram. They're you know what? They're at a lot of shows around here, and the two of them. I don't even know who inks, who colors it, but they had a great working relationship. But great stuff every single day. Every single day on Instagram, I open it up and there's a brand new drawing by the Fram brothers.
Nice.
So, yeah, and I've got a couple caps from them too, because that's my big deal. Cap. Captain America's. And there's the layout, so when you go to the show, you'll find out where all the guests are sitting at.
Okay, cool.
And there's that. There's all their booth numbers. So, I'm sorry if we bored people, but we just went through my entire guest list.
No, listen.
There's a lot of people when I'm going through. I go, oh my God.
But you know what? I think that's great because people should know who's coming and who they want to see. Like there were some people, I've been through your list and I missed a few that I didn't realize were going to be there. Yeah. And I'm like, wow, this is great.
And this isn't my biggest year. This is like a quiet year compared to years past. I mean, 2019 was insane with the amount of guests I had at the show. This is like a soft reboot. We're coming back.
All right, let's move that and bring us back. All right. So let me ask you. Yeah. With everything that has happened this past year, I know a lot of shows didn't happen.
Something happened?
Yeah. So a lot of stuff, has limitations. With things opening up, what are kind of the rules and guidelines for people coming into the show now?
Well, I told people I'm fortunate to work with the Mohegan Sun because unlike a lot of these other empty venues, these stadiums and halls that have been closed since last year, they haven't been open. But Mohegan's been open 365, 24/7 since last June because they figured out a way to work around everything.
Yeah.
And they installed a lot of safety precautions and protocols there. So they had everything from, they still do, from a heat sensor. So when you walk in the building, it reads your body temperature without you even knowing it. It's not like they come up to you and put a thermometer. Okay. But they have this device that if you go by, and I think it was 99.9, if it detected your fever was that or above, they'd stop you and then they would do the secondary temperature thing to double check. And if it was too hot, you weren't allowed in the building. So if you're running a fever, they also have more hand sanitizer than I don't know, than God's got apples. I mean, there's sanitizer everywhere. If you are vaccinated at the moment, which is the rule in Connecticut, you don't have to wear a mask.
Okay.
If you're unvaccinated, they'd ask that you put the mask on. That's the rule over there at the moment. And masks, temperature checks, Purell, social distancing. Obviously you don't need a huddle on top of everybody. I mean, we're not there yet, but just kind of keep a little eye about how close you are to some people, give them some breathing room.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much it. I mean, and the other thing is I've made the aisles wider.
Mhm.
I didn't sell as many booths, not because I couldn't. It's because I purposely didn't sell a lot of booths. I actually said, hey, instead of having 6 booths in an aisle, let's do 4. And they're 10 by 10, so that just made 20 feet. And let's do that. So you're going to see, if you looked at the floor plan for this year's show and put it on top of 2019, you'll say, oh my goodness, this guy's got a lot of breathing space. And the actors and the artists are spaced out farther. And there's not a kids con this year, which we do with Franco normally, because I wanted to make sure, little kids aren't vaccinated because they can't get it if they're 12 and under. So I didn't want to do too much exposure and do too much hands-on stuff like we do normally, face painting, and we do, design costumes with the kids. So I said, why don't we just play it safe this year and not do that part? So I did not do a kids con for this year's show. But yeah, I mean those are some of the things I've done consciously to make sure things are wider and not as crowded, and did my part that way. That's as much as you could do. I mean, I tell people, you go to the grocery store, they don't check your temperature at the grocery store. I mean, it is what it is out there. You just got to go make the best and muster on. You can't just stay at home all day long, hide under the covers. Got to get out there. But anyway.
I get you. We're going to wrap up in a few, but before we go, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about your podcast. Can you tell us a little bit about your podcast, what you do, when you do it, and where people can find it?
Well, I've been on 2. I've been on the IndieCast since 2007. That's the world's only Indiana Jones podcast. Every week, or now it's every 2 weeks, but now we might be every week again because we've got a movie. We talk everything about Indiana Jones, every movie, every book, every TV series. You name it, we've interviewed everybody from the guy that makes his socks to the guy that makes his whips. I mean, that's been going on. So that's the IndieCast. And that's, like 400 episodes maybe or something.
Wow.
And I do that with my friend Ed Dollister, who's down in Australia. And he lives down in Victoria, which is way on the other side of the world, actually. So I do the podcast with him, and we have a bunch of other folks that come in from around the world, Austria, Ohio, England. We all talk about Indiana Jones. That's one podcast. Then I'm on the Power Cosmic podcast. Now, that's the one that I mentioned earlier with Jerry Ordway. That literally is me and Jerry just doing what we normally do when we just BS. And I just said, let's just put the microphone on, because somebody might want to listen to this and think it's interesting, because Jerry has been working in comics since like 1980. So that's like, how many years ago? 40-something years, 41 years. He's got stories about the greatest creators. He's worked with everybody from Alan Moore to Stan Lee, Steve Ditko. He's worked with Jack Kirby, and he's done stuff with, Jurgens and everybody. I mean, it's Jerry Ordway, for God's sake.
Yeah.
It's like Mr. Comic Book. So Jerry's got all these great behind-the-scenes stories, what happened here, what happened with this movie and that. So he's a fountain of information. And that fountain spills over as we have beer and pizza at a restaurant called the Colony Grill here in Fairfield. And even the waitress, Sarah, we call her Sarah the singing waitress, she gets involved. And she gets involved. And we literally just have the microphone in the table for about an hour as we just eat our food and talk about everything. And people think it's entertaining and listen to it. And then we go on adventures when Jerry and I will go to movies, and 2 old men driving around. What? Turn left. No, turn right. And you'll hear all that in the podcast. And what did you think about the black one? Oh my God, Jerry, watch out for that truck. I mean, it's crazy. It's just literally like you're in the back seat with these 2 jerks. And that's, people like it.
Sounds like a lot of fun.
It's just a weird thing. That's the Power Cosmic podcast. I did it with another fellow named John Cimino, who's Roy Thomas's booking agent now.
Okay.
And that it's a different show. So if you ever go back and listen to it, the first 90 episodes are with Cimino, and he's just like a little bundle of something. And then the second halves are all with Jerry Ordway, which are like a different pace. Jerry's more of a he's more of a Bob Newhart as opposed to the other guy who was more like a Sam Kinison. So it's as opposite as you can get. And Jerry's got that Midwestern sensibility about him. So he's always like, well, gosh darn it, I remember when that happened. And boy, I tell you, It got my muster up. I was not happy that day. So it's funny to watch Ordway. He would never say anything bad against anybody. He's always got something nice to say. Don't ask me why, but Jerry does. Or I, on the other hand, do not have something nice to say. And it's a very interesting combo. And then there's even a YouTube show. Like if you say, I can't get enough of Mitch Hallock, you can go and watch me on Mitch and Ed, the Australian guy from the IndieCast. We have Mitch and Ed's Excellent Adventure, where we just go around and we just talk about movies and TV. And every week, Ed blows me up somehow. Like, I'll be on the show, and there's some wanton act of destruction that happens, and I'm either hit by lightning or exploded, or King Kong crushes me. So every week, Ed Dollister comes up with a new way to murder me at the beginning of every show. So if you don't watch anything, just watch the opening minute or two on each episode just to see him destroy me in some form or another. It's really odd. And then the last thing is I am the king of the nerds on the Connecticut's #1 morning radio show, Chaz and AJ in the morning, for the last 10 years, going on 11. I'll be on this Thursday. So I come on there every week. I do a top 10 list. I review the movies like Black Widow and Loki and all that nerdy stuff. And then they just pick on me all the time and call me the world's biggest nerd. So I'm also on radio. That's it. Radio, podcast, YouTube, convention. I'll be coming to your house and shoveling your driveway when it snows. And I'll rake your leaves. I got some time on my hands.
You do it all, man. That's
great.
Then
I got GamerCon. I forgot.
GamerCon, yes.
Yeah, oh my God. Yeah, that's
talk about that. I'm sorry, I forgot about that myself.
I did too. Video games and Magic the Gathering and Pokemon, all that stuff. That's happening in September because we had to postpone that sucker. 3 times that got postponed. It was last March 2020, the week after everything hit the fan. I had to shut that show down. Then we moved it to September because we thought this would all be over by then. We laughed. And then we thought it would be back this March, and it still wasn't over. And then we postponed it to this September. So the 4th time's the charm for GamerCon. So we'll be there doing video game tournaments and all that stuff.
Is that also at Mohegan Sun?
It is. It is not at the Expo Center. It is back at the Convention Center, which is smaller, which is where we used to do TERRIFICON until we got big. And that's over at Mohegan Sun. That's a 2-day show. Tickets are like $25. You come in there. There's pinball machines, arcade machines, Dungeons and Dragons, and all that stuff, and arcade games. So,
well, that sounds like a lot of fun too.
It is. It's a different animal.
I'm a D&D guy myself, so
you can go and buy all kind of dice. We have people selling dice made out of bones and all that stuff. So, costume contest. Forgot that. Anyway, there's a lot going on.
Yeah, I just want to go to the comments real quick. Joe Ryan says,
go ahead.
I'd love a chance to be an artist at TERRIFICON as an indie creator. Well, you're booked for this one.
This year, forget about it. Yeah,
this year.
They go on sale every January 7th. That's when they go on sale. And you got to act fast because I sell out like in 2 months. Artist Alleys go like in a week.
And I will say this though, Joe, go next week, and the show's the 30th to July 30th
to August 1st.
Yeah. So Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Go online, buy the tickets, go and check out the show. A lot of great artists. I mean, if you've been watching everybody coming on here.
And you know what's great about it too? We didn't talk about that. It's not like New York Comic Con where you got to wait in line forever and you get to talk to somebody for about 5 seconds.
Yeah.
You can have a good conversation with Ordway or Jimmy Palmiotti or Donny Cates. No one's going to be, you got to go. You got to move out of here. Last time we got together, I almost wanted to beat up Chris Claremont because he was talking to every fan for about 15 to 20 minutes, and his line was 2 hours long because he gave everybody the chance to talk to him. I'm like, oh my God, Chris, I love you, but there's 300 people waiting, and at 300 people times 10 minutes, it's a lot. So,
yeah, I know. One of your shows you had was
Dan Slott was like talking to everybody too.
You had Marv Wolfman there at one
of
your
shows. We did have
and,
Wolfman,
and I talked to him. I got a good 15-minute conversation. No one was really around at the time. I don't know if it was beginning, end of show, whatever.
No. Is that when he was out in the lobby?
He was out in the lobby.
Yeah, because he had a big line and it was getting crazy. So I moved him out in the lobby near Roy Thomas and Scott Snyder. Yeah.
We got Scott Martin asking.
Oh, Scott Martin.
the show is the Expo Central Air Conditioning.
No, it's not. It's just me with a big chunk of ice, and I go. I've known on it for a while. He knows
we
that.
got Emilio again. He's doing your show. Look for him at Artist
He
Alley,
is.
table
He is.
F4.
That's right.
If I go, I'll definitely be stopping by.
I think Emilio's been at every show I've done since Trumbull. I think he's been almost every.
Emilio does a lot of shows.
He does, but him and his mom. My mom loves when she meets Emilio's mom. She always talks about it. How's that nice young man? So, my mom shows up. I mean, what kind of Comic Cons can you say that the guy's mother's walking around checking it all out? Be nice to my mom too. If anybody picks on my mother,
they're out the door.
Never come back.
Dan Spear says thanks for talking to us.
There you go.
And Joe Ryan says he'd love the opportunity next year. So look for When the Show. Follow him on social media. You can get his social media on his website. So go to terrificon.com and you can get links to the social media there. Looks like Facebook and Twitter.
Yes.
So.
And Instagram and Twitter and pen pals. I think. Yeah.
Well, I'm going to wrap things up.
All right.
Thanks for hanging out. If you want to hang out backstage for a minute, that'd be cool. Thanks again for coming on. I had a lot of fun chatting with you. Got to learn a lot more about you and some of the stuff you're doing besides TERRIFICON. So I really enjoyed that. My plan is to come that Saturday.
Yeah.
So if I don't come,
I'll start dragging the swamps and wonder if
come. But I'm just have a great show, man. I'm planning to. Everything comes down to if I'm healed from this little pulled muscle. I don't know what I did.
Muscle thing. Yeah.
I'm at it. This is so sad. I'm at the age where I sneezed and I pulled something, and it was so bad.
Ronald sucks,
and I couldn't move all day Sunday.
Really?
And it was weird. I don't know what it was like. Lower back and a little bit on my side, and so I might have pulled a muscle really bad. And I don't know. I'm taking it easy right now. So as long as I'm healed, I'm going to be at your show.
Yeah, but don't fall apart, man.
Yeah, I don't want to. That's the problem. That's my problem. But again, thanks for coming on. I'll drop you backstage. I'll do my close up, and I'll see you in a few moments. All right, guys, that was fun. I don't know, for those who weren't here in the beginning, I've actually done this show a couple of times. I love TERRIFICON. You guys, go get your tickets. He has a ton of great artists, great movie and TV guests. It's definitely a show you want to check out. If you haven't before. So if you live in the Connecticut area, New York, New Jersey, Massachusetts, wherever you want to come from, just come and go enjoy a great weekend of comics. And if you want some gambling, because it's at Mohegan Sun. So you guys have a great rest of your night, and I will see you next week with another guest. All right. Bye, guys.